The sprawling crystal halls of the Assassination Guild's headquarters shimmered brilliantly under the light of 3 moons. Perched on an asteroid at the edge of the Empire's domain, this imposing structure housed the most feared assassins in the galaxy. For 10,000 years, the Guild had never declined a contract until today. Guildmaster Thomas stood before the Empire's messenger, his black cloak glinting under the starlight streaming through the transparent ceiling. The messenger, a tall, blue-skinned alien, shifted uneasily, awaiting a response. "You want us to target humans?" Thomas asked, his calm tone betraying his disbelief. He turned the data crystal containing the contract details slowly in his hand. "The Empire will pay 10 times our standard rate," the messenger replied, his antennae twitching nervously. "We need their leaders eliminated before we expand into their territory." Thomas approached the central display, inserting the crystal. A holographic projection of Earth appeared, spinning slowly. "Summon the council," he commanded. Within minutes, holograms of the Guild's 12 top assassins materialized around the room. "Masters," Thomas began, "we have a new contract from the Empire. The targets are humans from Earth. Review the data and cast your votes." Silence filled the chamber as the assassins examined the information. Their expressions shifted from curiosity to concern and then to something the messenger had never before seen on the faces of assassins: fear. "I vote no," declared the first master, a reptilian assassin renowned for never refusing a mission. "Humans are too dangerous." "No," echoed the second master, a shadow walker capable of passing through walls. "I won't risk it." One by one, each master rejected the contract. Never in the Guild's history had a proposal been unanimously declined. The messenger's blue skin paled. "I don't understand," he protested. "They're just a primitive species. They haven't even mastered faster than light travel." Thomas approached another display and pressed a button. "Watch," he said firmly. The screen began displaying footage: human soldiers undergoing grueling training, running through fire, swimming in frozen lakes, and leaping from great heights. Clips of martial arts tournaments, boxing matches, and special forces drills followed. "Do you know what these are?" Thomas asked. The messenger shook his head. "These are their games, their entertainment, what they do for fun," Thomas said, pausing to let the weight of his words sink in. "They train to kill for sport. They practice war as a hobby. Even their children play games that simulate combat." The screen shifted to more footage: parkour runners vaulting between buildings, free climbers scaling cliffs without safety gear, and base jumpers navigating treacherous valleys. "We are the galaxy's finest assassins because we dedicate our lives to mastering the art of killing. But humans, they're natural predators. They perfected killing as a science long before they reached the stars." The screen now showed historical clips of humans hunting, tracking prey for days, driving it to exhaustion. The messenger looked horrified. "But they look so harmless." "That," Thomas said, "is what makes them the ultimate killers. They can blend in anywhere, survive any environment, eat almost anything, and most importantly," he leaned closer, "they never, ever give up." Thomas handed the crystal back to the trembling messenger. "Tell the Empire we reject this contract not out of fear, but out of professional respect. If they're wise, they'll leave Earth alone." The messenger clutched the crystal, his hands shaking. "The Empire won't be pleased," he stammered. "The Empire should be grateful," Thomas replied. "We've just saved their lives. If they attack Earth, they'll discover what we already know: humans don't need assassins to kill you. They've been honing that craft since the moment they picked up a stone and called it a weapon." As the messenger departed, Thomas watched the image of Earth slowly rotating on the display. For the first time in his career, he felt relieved to have refused a contract, knowing one irrefutable truth: in a galaxy filled with killers, humans were the only species that made it an art form. Meanwhile, the Empire's High Council erupted into chaos. 5 council members sat around a floating table, their scaled faces twisted in fury. At the table's center, a hologram of the rejected contract glowed ominously in red. "Unacceptable," roared Council Leader Marcus, his tail slamming against the chair. "No one rejects an Empire contract." The blue-skinned messenger stood silently in the corner, trying to remain unseen, his antennae still trembling from his encounter with the Guild. "We must investigate," Councillor Rita said, her voice calm but firm. "The Guild has never failed us before. There must be a reason." Marcus activated a new hologram, revealing the image of Guildmaster Thomas, whose expression was as composed as ever. "Explain yourself," Marcus demanded. Thomas inclined his head respectfully. "Of course. Allow me to show you why we declined." With a press of a button, the chamber filled with holographic recordings. The first displayed a human military base, soldiers crawling through mud under live gunfire, leaping through flaming obstacles and sparring fiercely. "Impressive, but not extraordinary," Marcus remarked, unimpressed. "That's their basic training," Thomas replied. "Now observe this." The footage shifted to ordinary humans. A woman chased a thief through crowded streets, vaulting over cars and scaling walls. A man fought off 3 armed robbers with his bare hands. A child escaped danger using parkour skills that rivaled professional assassins. "These," Thomas said, "are not soldiers." Thomas explained, "These aren't trained warriors, they're ordinary humans. Their entire species possesses innate killing abilities that our assassins spend years honing." The council members sat in stunned silence as more footage played, showing humans hunting dangerous beasts, enduring harsh environments, and triumphing against overwhelming odds. "But this is what truly unsettles us," Thomas continued. The hologram shifted to scenes of human entertainment, action films, combat sports, and military-themed games. "They train to kill for fun," Thomas said, his tone grave. "Their children play war games. Their adults fight for sport in arenas. They create movies about battling aliens, and in these films humans always win." Councillor Rhea leaned forward, her scales paling. "Are you saying they're preparing for war with us?" "They've been preparing to fight aliens for centuries," Thomas replied. "They dream of it, create stories about it, and raise every child to know how to respond if aliens attack." "That's absurd," Marcus scoffed. "They can barely leave their planet." "Let me show you one last thing," Thomas said quietly. The hologram shifted again, displaying humans in extraordinary situations: a mother lifting a car to save her child, a wounded soldier carrying a comrade for miles, survivors enduring impossible conditions. "Humans have a capability we've never encountered before," Thomas explained. "When pushed to their limits, they can override pain, dismiss fear, and achieve feats that should be physically impossible. They call it adrenaline. We call it terrifying." The chamber fell silent, even Marcus unable to muster a retort. "We rejected your contract," Thomas concluded, "because targeting humans would be suicide. They wouldn't just survive our assassins, they'd hunt us down. And unlike us, they wouldn't stop until they destroyed every last one of us." "Surely you're exaggerating," Rhea whispered, though her voice betrayed doubt. "I wish I were," Thomas replied. "My advice? Leave Earth alone. Because if you don't," he paused, meeting the gaze of each council member, "you'll learn firsthand why even professional killers fear them." The hologram disappeared, leaving the council in a stunned, uneasy silence. In the corner, the blue-skinned messenger observed the scene, watching as the Empire's most powerful leaders experienced fear for the first time. Marcus finally spoke, his voice low and shaken. "What have we almost unleashed?" Meanwhile, chaos reigned in the Empire's research center. Dozens of analysts hurriedly studied screens showing various human activities. Marcus and Rhea stood at the center, watching their brightest minds scramble to comprehend the species that had unnerved the galaxy's deadliest assassins. "Show us the combat analysis," Marcus commanded. Lead researcher Alex, an insectoid alien with swift, agile limbs, stepped forward, His hands moved deftly across several control panels as he cued new footage. What you're about to see, Alex began, may forever alter how you perceive humans. The first clip showed a martial arts tournament. 2 humans moved with incredible speed, absorbing blows that should have incapacitated them, yet continuing to fight. Now watch this, Alex said, switching to footage of military exercises, humans in full gear navigating obstacle courses, scaling walls, and carrying injured teammates. They can keep going for hours, Alex explained. They don't stop when they're tired. They don't stop when they're hurt. They just don't stop. Ria's scales rippled uneasily. Show us more. Alex displayed clips of extreme sports, humans leaping off cliffs in wingsuits, climbing frozen waterfalls, diving into deep caves, and surfing colossal waves. They do this for fun, Marcus asked, his tail twitching with apprehension. Yes, Alex confirmed. But this is what truly alarms us. He switched to historical footage, humans waging war in trenches, jungles, deserts, and snow. They can fight in any climate, any terrain, under any conditions, Alex said. Surely they have weaknesses, Ria said, grasping for reassurance. Alex hesitated. Their greatest weakness is also their greatest strength. He brought up medical scans. Humans are fragile, they break easily. But he paused. They heal. They adapt. They come back stronger. The screen displayed humans in rehabilitation, relearning to walk, recovering from grievous injuries, and returning to peak performance. When most species break, they remain broken. Humans rebuild themselves better, stronger, more determined. Marcus sank into his chair, his confidence eroding. The guild was right to refuse the contract. It gets worse, Alex added grimly. He brought up a final set of images, movies, video games, and books depicting alien invasions and battles. Humans have spent over a century imagining conflict with extraterrestrials, Alex said. They've envisioned every way we might attack and crafted countless strategies to defeat us. And in their stories, he zoomed in on scenes from human media. They always win. Those are just stories, Marcus protested, though his voice trembled. No, Alex countered. It's how humans think. They don't just prepare for war, they dream about it, simulate it, turn it into entertainment. When the real conflict comes, they've already fought it 1,000 times in their minds. Ria suddenly stood. We need to alert the Empire immediately. It's too late, a new voice interrupted. All heads turned to see Guildmaster Thomas entering the room, his black cloak absorbing the light. What do you mean? Marcus demanded. Thomas pointed to one of the screens. While you've been studying them, they've been watching us. The display revealed satellite images of Earth's defense systems, all aimed at the stars. They know we're here, Thomas said grimly. And they've known for weeks. The room descended into stunned silence. As the gravity of the situation settled in, Rita whispered, What do we do now? Thomas turned to each of them, his expression grim. Pray they show mercy, he replied. Because if they don't... He gestured to the screens displaying human combat footage. This isn't just their history or their entertainment, it's a promise of what's to come. In the biological research wing, the Empire's top scientists gathered around holographic displays showing human DNA, brain scans, and physical attributes. Lead researcher Alex stood before Council Leader Marcus and Council Member Rita, his insect-like hands trembling as he prepared to deliver his report. We've discovered something unique, Alex began, his voice unsteady. Humans are the only species known to hunt for pleasure. What do you mean? Rita asked, her scales shifting anxiously. Alex displayed footage of humans hunting throughout history. Every other species kills only for survival, food, or defense. Humans, on the other hand, he clicked a button, showing images of sports hunting. They track animals for days, not because they need to eat, but because they enjoy the challenge. Marcus watched humans silently following trails through forests, reading signs imperceptible to most. How can they do this? He asked. Alex pulled up brain scans. Humans have an unparalleled ability to recognize patterns, he explained. They can track prey by noticing broken twigs, disturbed leaves, or faint footprints days old. The footage shifted, showing humans hunting in deserts, jungles, and Arctic tundras. But this, Alex continued, is the most frightening part. The next video revealed humans engaging in persistence hunting, walking after prey for hours, even days. They don't have to be faster than their target, Alex explained. They just have to keep going. No other species can run as long as they can. They chase their prey until it collapses from exhaustion. Rita's scales paled. They do this for fun. Alex nodded. And it gets worse. He pulled up medical data. Their pain tolerance is extraordinary. The screen showed humans fighting with broken bones, running on sprained ankles, and swimming with severe injuries. Their bodies release chemicals, endorphins and adrenaline, that allow them to ignore pain and push through injuries that would incapacitate any other species. Marcus began pacing nervously. So, they're unstoppable. No, Alex replied. They can be killed. But he displayed footage of human technological evolution, from primitive tools to advanced weapons and armor. They are tool makers. When they can't do something naturally, they invent ways to overcome it. They couldn't fly, so they built machines to fly. They couldn't survive in space, so they created suits to live there. Surely they have limits, Rita said, her voice tinged with desperation. Alex shook his head. That's the most terrifying part. When humans reach their limits, he showed footage of athletes breaking records and people performing seemingly impossible feats. They simply decide to push past them. Guildmaster Thomas entered the room, followed by military commanders. The military has new intel to share, he announced. The highest-ranking commander stepped forward. We've been monitoring Earth's response to our presence, he began. They've detected all our stealth ships. Impossible, Marcus exclaimed. Our stealth technology is flawless. They didn't detect the ships themselves, the commander clarified. They noticed changes in bird flight patterns, minor atmospheric temperature shifts, and subtle weather anomalies. They deduced where we were by observing the world around them. The room fell silent as this revelation sank in. Don't you see, Thomas said quietly. Everything we've learned about them, it's not just about their physical abilities. It's about how they think. They are predators, natural hunters. They don't just rely on strength, they use their minds. Rita stared at the screens, the evidence overwhelming. We've made a terrible mistake, haven't we? Yes, Thomas confirmed. We thought we were studying prey. Instead, we've discovered that we're the ones being hunted. The room remained silent, save for the hum of the computers, each screen displaying yet another facet of humanity's deadly potential. Elsewhere, chaos gripped the Empire's military command center. Red warning lights flashed as technicians scrambled to decipher what was happening. Marcus, Rita, and High Commander Jack huddled together, reviewing the reports. 3 more stealth ships have vanished, Jack reported, his metallic skin reflecting the flashing lights. That makes 15 in total. How, Marcus demanded, his tail thrashing with frustration. We ignored the Guild's warning and sent our best ships. They should have been undetectable. Rita scanned the data. No distress signals, no debris. They just disappeared. Lead researcher Alex burst into the room, juggling several data tablets. You need to see this, he said, plugging one into the main display. The screen showed distortions in space, barely visible outlines of stealth ships. How did they find them? Jack asked, his fingers clicking nervously on the control panel. They didn't look for the ships, Alex explained. They tracked the movement of their own satellites, adjusting their orbits to create an invisible detection grid. They knew we were coming, Rita whispered, her voice trembling. It gets worse, Alex added, displaying intercepted communications from Earth's military. They've known about us for weeks. They were just waiting. Marcus slammed his fist against the table. Impossible. Our technology is superior. It doesn't matter, Thomas said, entering the room, his black cloak seeming darker than usual. What do you mean? Jack demanded. Thomas displayed historical footage of human warfare. Look at their military history. Time and again, technologically superior forces have been defeated by humans who adapt. The footage showed guerrilla fighters, resistance movements, and small nations outmaneuvering larger enemies. They don't fight fair, Thomas explained. They exploit weaknesses, adapt, and survive. New alarms sounded as technicians reported movements from Earth. The screen displayed hundreds of objects launching from the planet's surface. Missiles? Marcus asked, his voice taut with fear. No, Alex replied. Satellites. Thousands of them. They're forming a network. Another technician shouted, Sir, our long-range communications are failing. Thomas nodded grimly. They're not just defending themselves, they're isolating us, cutting off our ability to call for reinforcements. But we haven't even attacked them, Rita protested. They don't care, Thomas said. In their games, their stories, their training, humans always strike first. They don't wait for the enemy to prepare. The room plunged into darkness as more systems failed. Emergency lights flickered on, casting a dim, red glow. Our ships, Jack reported, his voice shaking. They're losing power. Something is draining them. Thomas spoke softly in the dim light. Humans have a saying, the best defense is a good offense. They're not waiting to see what we'll do. They're taking away our ability to do anything at all. Marcus stared at the failing screens, realization dawning. We thought sending the military instead of assassins would work. You made it worse, Thomas replied. Assassins might have struck quietly. Instead, you've given them what they've been waiting for, a clear enemy to unite against. The room fell into a heavy silence, broken only by the frantic typing of technicians and the low hum of failing systems. Rita's voice trembled as she whispered, What do we do now? Thomas turned his gaze to the last functioning screen, which displayed Earth's satellite network steadily enclosing their positions. Now, he said grimly, we learn why the Guild refused to fight humans, and we pray we survive the lesson. In the Empire's emergency bunker, a heavy silence hung in the air, broken only by the sound of videos playing on multiple screens. Council Leader Marcus, Council Member Rita, High Commander Jack, and their remaining staff sat frozen, watching in horror as lead researcher Alex presented his findings. This is entertainment? Rita asked, her pale scales betraying her fear. Yes, Alex replied, his insect-like hands trembling as he cycled through more footage. They call them movies and video games. Look at this one, it's over 50 years old. The screen showed humans defeating alien invaders, outsmarting advanced technology with clever strategies and sheer determination. They've been rehearsing this, Thomas said from the corner, his voice low. For generations, they've imagined every way to defeat alien invaders, every scenario, every tactic. But these are just stories, Marcus protested weakly. No, Alex interjected, switching to footage of military drills. Look at their training programs. Every idea from these stories has been tested, refined, and prepared for real combat. The screens displayed soldiers executing maneuvers identical to scenes from their movies, weapons modeled after designs in their games, and defense systems mirroring their fictional scenarios. They didn't just imagine fighting aliens, Thomas explained. They prepared for it. Every child who grew up watching these stories became a soldier, a scientist, or an engineer, turning those ideas into reality. High Commander Jack's metallic skin had dulled. Show them what we found in their games, he muttered. Alex brought up footage of humans playing video games, where players commanded armies, defended Earth, and engaged in space battles. These aren't just games, Alex explained. They're simulators. Entire generations have been trained to think tactically, make quick decisions, and understand space warfare. That's why we lost our stealth ships, Jack added. Every strategy we tried, Every move we thought was clever, they'd already practiced defending against it. In their games and their stories, millions of times. New footage appeared: children playing war games, teenagers practicing martial arts, adults strategizing in competitions. Their entire culture, Thomas said, is built around combat, not just physical, but strategic and tactical. They've turned everything into a training ground. Rita pointed at a screen. What's that? Alex zoomed in on a group of humans gathered around a table with dice and papers. They call this role-playing. Even in leisure, they practice decision-making, teamwork, and defeating powerful enemies. And their military studies their own entertainment, Jack added, displaying classified documents. They analyze these fictional scenarios, pulling out ideas to create real weapons and strategies. Suddenly, the screens went dark. Moments later, they flickered back on, now showing live footage from Earth. Thomas's voice turned grim. They want us to watch. The footage showed coordinated military operations, ships being loaded, weapons distributed, soldiers moving with precision. Civilians calmly prepared alongside them, as though this was routine. They're not panicking, Marcus whispered. Why aren't they panicking? Because they've been preparing for this moment, Thomas replied. In their games, their stories, their drills, they've already fought this war. Over and over again, and in every version of the story they win. Rita's voice dropped to a whisper. They know how this ends. A new alert flashed across the screens. Earth's communication channels opened, broadcasting on all frequencies. But instead of threats, they aired movies, games, and stories about humans triumphing over alien invaders. It's not a warning, Thomas said quietly. It's a promise. The Empire's leaders sat motionless, watching humanity's tales of victory unfold. With growing dread, they realized they had started the very war humanity had spent generations perfecting. The command center descended into chaos. Every screen displayed the same ominous message. Marcus, Rita, and Jack stared in shock as lead researcher Alex worked frantically. How did they breach our systems? Jack demanded, his metallic tone strained. Before anyone could respond, the screens changed again. Maps of Empire bases, blueprints of secure facilities, and surveillance photos of their leaders' private homes filled the displays. Impossible, Marcus whispered. These are our most classified locations. How did they get this information? They've been among us, Thomas said as he entered the room. His voice cut through the panic. What do you mean? Rita asked, her scales fading to gray. Thomas connected a data crystal to the main console. Look at these immigration records from our outer colonies. The screen filled with files. For the past decade, humans have quietly settled across Empire space. They worked normal jobs, lived ordinary lives. Spies, Jack asked nervously. Scouts, Thomas corrected. They studied us from within. They mapped our weaknesses, our defenses, and we never noticed because they look so ordinary. New alerts flashed. Our outer defenses are shutting down, Alex reported. They're bypassing our security with our own codes. Of course they are, Thomas said calmly. The humans working in our stations and bases, they've had years to learn our systems and plant their own. They've been preparing for this moment. The main screen flickered, displaying a chilling message. Your assassination guild was wise to refuse. Here's why. We found your fleet before you found us. We mapped your empire while you watched our planet. We studied your technology while you examined our weapons. We infiltrated your worlds while you planned your invasion. We now control your systems. You have 1 hour to surrender. If you refuse, we won't need assassins, we'll do it ourselves. Sincerely, Humanity. Marcus sank into his chair. How? How did we lose before we even started? Thomas answered. Because while we watched their soldiers and their weapons, we missed what truly makes them dangerous. He gestured at the screen. Humans are patient. They plan, Prepare, and they're everywhere. Rita stared at the countdown on the screens. Can we fight back? Alex shook his head, his arms dropping in defeat. They control everything: our defenses, communications, power grids. They could shut us down with a single command. Jack's voice was heavy with resignation. The Guild was right. We should never have targeted them. Thomas stepped to the main console, opening a communication channel. This is Guildmaster Thomas to the Human Command. On behalf of the Empire, we surrender. The response was immediate. Systems came back online, and the threatening displays disappeared, replaced by a single message: surrender accepted. We will send representatives to discuss peace terms. Remember this lesson: the most dangerous predators don't show their teeth. They wait for the perfect moment to strike. Welcome to the galaxy's new era, humanity. In the stunned silence that followed, Thomas turned to the Empire's leaders. You wanted to know why the Guild refused to target humans. He gestured at the screens, showing human infiltrators living peaceful lives across Empire space. Because the best killers don't look like killers. And humanity, they're the best there's ever been.